Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. It is the player ratings. Crystal Palace 3, Everton 1. Apologies I couldn't get this out last night. I was a little bit busy after the instant match reaction. Something popped up, so unfortunately I wasn't able to do the player ratings, but I didn't want to not do one. We like to do a player ratings and an instant match reaction for every game, even the most terrible of games, which yesterday was pretty close to, wasn't it? So I thought we'd sit down today and do it today instead, and we'll probably do the live game review to this game tomorrow evening around about 5 o'clock ish. So if you want to join us for a bit more of a lengthy video talking about this, then you can do tomorrow evening. But this is the player ratings. Another defeat for Rafa Benitez's Everton side. Another absolutely disgraceful, shocking performance. Just when we thought, we could potentially build some momentum and build some sort of a run after Monday's win against Arsenal, that win is pretty much pointless now. You may as well forget about it. It may as well not have happened. You may as well just dump it in the, down the side, because it doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter. We said going into this game against Crystal Palace that it was absolutely imperative that Everton won. And that we made it 2 on the bounce, and that we actually put together a little bit of a run of form, shall we say, or at least a little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence coming into a couple of really, really difficult fixtures. Starting with Chelsea on Thursday, and then obviously we've got Leicester at the weekend as well, coming into the Christmas period. And it wasn't the biggest of ask, was it? Look, fair play to Crystal Palace. They absolutely deserved their win yesterday. They were the much better team. They come out the traps from the start. They attacked us. They pinned us back. They were creating chances left, right and centre. Conor Gallagher was absolutely fantastic from start to finish. I think Everton had something like 22% of possession in the first half, which is just embarrassing, and Crystal Palace were much, much the better side. There's no question in that whatsoever. However, that shouldn't have been the case. This is a Crystal Palace side who I think had not won in 4 Premier League games. They weren't in the greatest run of form. They didn't have a lot of confidence. They didn't, they weren't really on a good run, and they were a team that Everton should have been looking at turning up and beating, and using the momentum and the confidence from the win against Arsenal to propel us in this one yesterday, and we just simply didn't. It was almost back to normal. It was like the win against Arsenal was a one-off, and this type of performance that we saw yesterday, that we saw it against Brentford, that we saw it against Watford, that we saw it against Wolves, was the norm. That's the type of performance that we come to expect from Everton now. That's the type of decisions we come to expect from the manager, who for me shouldn't be in a job. This afternoon I'm sitting here recording this at 4 o'clock the next day, and I really don't understand how Rafa Benitez is still the manager of Everton Football Club. Take the Liverpool connection out of it, take the injuries, take the lack of money spending in the summer, etc, etc. The fact of the matter is, winning 1 game in 2 months, 2 games in 2 months, when you look at some of the games that we've had in that period, is just not acceptable. And Everton are really, 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 really dangerously close to a relegation battle that I'm not confident we'll get out of, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not saying we'll be relegated, and I know that, had we have won yesterday, I think we'd have gone to 10th or something, and then we were only a couple of points away from being within the top 7, top 8. I get all of that, but the problem I've got with Everton at the moment, or certainly one of the problems I've got with Everton at the moment, is we don't seem to be able to string 2 wins together. Forget 2 wins, we don't seem to be able to string 2 decent performances together. It was like not one of those Everton players yesterday had taken any bit of confidence or momentum from the Arsenal win. It was almost like they'd forgotten about it. It was like it didn't exist. It didn't happen. They didn't come into this one yesterday thinking, do you know what? We're in a bad run of form beforehand, but we won on Monday. Really good win. Crowd was behind us. Let's go and build on that. It was almost like, we can't be arsed anymore. We've given a little bit on Monday. You can't ask us to do it twice in 1 week, surely. So we'll just walk around and get beaten heavily again. And that was what happened. Anyway, let's get into the player ratings, because that is what we are here to talk about at the end of the day. Let's start with goalkeeper Jordan Pickford then. I'm going to give him a 6.5. Again, it's pretty much the same week in, week out with Jordan Pickford, isn't it? I feel like I'm saying the same thing. He wasn't at fault for any of the goals, in my opinion. I haven't watched the game back, and exactly like what I said after the Merseyside derby, I probably won't be watching the game back either, because I don't think I can put myself through that, to be honest with you again. But from watching yesterday, Jordan didn't seem to be at fault. He certainly wasn't at fault for the first goal. That was down to Demarai Gray, and I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Seamus Coleman firing it at Demarai Gray on the edge of the box for no reason whatsoever. And that was a nice finish by Gallagher. He certainly wasn't at fault for the third goal either, which was a really good finish. And as I said, I don't think it was particularly a fault for the second goal. Distribution was okay. Had a couple of saves to make in other areas around the game, and he made them comfortably as well. He was just all right yesterday. Listen, we lost 3-1, and I'm absolutely gutted. I'm devastated, and I'm beyond frustrated at what's going on at this football club at the moment. But Jordan Pickford doesn't really deserve to take any blame for that whatsoever. However, I'm not going to sit here and say he's getting a 9 because he didn't do anything wrong, because we still were absolutely dreadful and lost. So he was okay. He didn't do anything of note that you can sit and criticise, I don't think. Maybe somebody will disagree and let me know in the comments. But for me, he's getting a 6.5. Ben Godfrey, let's start with the only positive of yesterday afternoon and of the video. Ben's going to actually get a 7 yesterday, to be honest with you. I think he was our best player by, they're saying by a country mile. I think Ben Godfrey was our best player, probably by the distance of the M62, to be honest with you, which I would assume is a long, long way. He was very, very good at left-back again. Obviously, Rafa Benitez decided to continue his nonsense, ridiculous feud with Luka Dean and not involve him in the squad in any way, shape or form, which is baffling for me. Listen, if you're taking Luka Dean out because his performances haven't been good enough, that's one thing. Completely taking him out of a already depleted and injury-ridden squad for no other reason other than you've had a little bit of a falling out is baffling for me. Baffling. But anyway, Ben Godfrey started at left back again, and as with Monday, even though I think a lot of Evertonians were frustrated about the Luka Dean situation last week and on Monday, I don't think any of that was targeted towards the fact that Ben Godfrey was playing left back. It was more the situation with Dean in isolation. Ben Godfrey himself on Monday against Arsenal was very good, and yesterday I thought he was very good as well. Couple of really, really good runs down that left-hand side. Made one in the first half where he made an absolutely brilliant run, knocked it past a couple of players, put the ball in, and Andre Gomez got on the end of it and fired it into the goalkeeper's palms. He made a couple of other runs throughout the game, made a couple of really good sliding challenges, and defensively I thought he was sound as well. And considering Ben is obviously a natural centre-back who is at the moment being asked to play out of position, I think he's doing a good job there, to be honest with you. And like I said, very similar with Jordan Pickford. I don't think we can look at yesterday's results and say, well, Ben Godfrey was a fault for this or Ben Godfrey was a fault for that. Some positional, some at times positionally maybe he was caught out a little bit, but that's because he's young and he's still learning. He's positionally caught out when he's playing centre back at times, but I thought overall his overall game was decent yesterday, and I thought he was one of the only players in an Everton shirt that could have walked off that pitch thinking, do you know what, I've put in a decent shift there. So Ben Godfrey is getting a 7, Michael Keane is getting a 3. Defensively, my biggest issue yesterday with Luka Dean not being in the squad again wasn't so much Ben Godfrey playing left back. It was more the fact that Ben Godfrey having to play left back meant that Ben Godfrey couldn't play centre back, and Ben Godfrey not playing centre back, with obviously the news we had on Friday with Yerry Mina being out injured, of course, because obviously he went off injured against Arsenal, meant automatically that it was going to be a partnership of Michael Keane and Mason Holgate. Now, Michael Keane and Mason Holgate have proven time and time again at Everton Football Club that they simply cannot play as a defensive partnership. It does not work. There's not enough leadership in there, there's not enough experience in there, and there's just not enough, there's not enough confidence, but also neither of them are good enough footballers to be able to play together in a partnership. You can maybe get away with Mason Holgate being one of the two centre-halves if Yerry Mina's there, for example, or you might get away with Michael Keane being one of them if Ben Godfrey's next to him or Yerry Mina's next to him. Playing, I would argue, our two worst or most limited first team centre halves together in a centre back partnership was always going to cause problems, or was always going to invite pressure, and we've seen it time and time again. Michael Keane and Mason Holgate act like they don't even speak the same language playing next to each other. There's just no leadership there, there's no communication, there's no accountability, there's no responsibility. The pair of them are just all over the place. And it was very much the same yesterday. Crystal Palace scored 3 goals. One of them was a defensive mistake, which, maybe Damari Gray should have cleared his lines and not played the ball into a dangerous area, but Conor Gallagher was completely standing on his own. There was 4 or 5 Everton players that were in the same vicinity as him, but nowhere near him. The second goal is a corner, comes in, again, completely unmarked. And the third goal is again, really good finish, to be fair, but again, nobody goes at him, nobody makes that decision, nobody takes that responsibility. So as I said, I've got a big problem with Michael Keane and Mason Holgate being a centre-back pairing, and I would have rather have had Luca Dean at left-back and Rafa Benitez to have grown up a little bit and sorted his issues out with Luca Dean and realised actually what's best for Everton Football Club here is Luca Dean comes in and plays left-back and we play Ben Godfrey next to Michael Keane at centre-back because Michael Keane and Mason Holgate can't play as a pair. They're just not good enough. Mason Holgate in himself probably isn't good enough to play for Everton, and Michael Keane on his day is very good, but when he's not on his day and when he's not next to the right partner, isn't good enough to play for Everton either. So putting them two together is just a recipe for disaster for me, and it's proven time and time again. And again yesterday, they made Crystal Palace's attack look like prime Barcelona in 2008, and that's no disrespect to Palace, but if you're a Palace fan watching this, you will know that it was very, very easy for your attack to breach our defence yesterday, and it shouldn't have been that way. So Michael Keane's getting a 3. Mason Holgate likewise is getting a 3. Similar reasons. I just don't think Mason Holgate's very good, to be honest with you, and that's not a personal dig at him. That's not me sitting here having a go at a player or trying to put him down. That's just how I feel. I just don't feel like he's a good enough footballer. I mean, you know what, he probably is a good enough footballer to play for Everton at the moment because we're a shambles and we've spent 500-600 million pounds on a squad that is utter garbage. But if Everton have got any aspiration of being anything other than mid-table mediocre and just there, that's what I would describe Everton as. You look through the Premier League table every year, you get to Everton and you just sort of say they're there. They're not challenging for anything. They probably won't go down. They'll struggle at times. They'll have good times. They'll have bad times. They just exist. That's all Everton are. They just exist at the moment. So Mason Holgate probably is good enough to be a part of this Everton squad. But realistically, in 2016, when Farhad Mashiri come into the football club, fast forward 5 or 6 years, spending £600 million. No disrespect, but Mason Holgate shouldn't be anywhere near an Everton starting 11. He was really good a couple of seasons ago. He never really progressed. He's still making stupid mistakes. He's still positionally absolutely dreadful. And yeah, he wasn't very good last night either, so he's getting a 3. Seamus Coleman's getting a 2.5. Listen, Seamus had a difficult afternoon yesterday. Let's say that. First thing I would say about Seamus Coleman is what I've said before, and that is that the football club are letting Seamus Coleman down dramatically at the moment. He shouldn't be anywhere near an Everton starting 11. Again, he probably should be, considering the players that we've got in the squad, but ideally, given the money that we've spent, given the fact that we've spent the majority of that money knowing Seamus Coleman needs replacing, he shouldn't be anywhere near an Everton starting 11. I love Seamus as much as the next blue, and I think he's brilliant, and what he's given to Everton as a player over the years has been absolutely amazing, and the value for money, etc., and all of that sort of stuff. But that isn't enough for me to sit here and not criticise him for his performances. Yesterday, again, he was all over the place, absolutely all over the place. Again, an okay Crystal Palace side found it far too easy to cause him problems down that right-hand side. He was at fault, I think, I'm pretty sure it's Seamus Coleman that fires the ball at Damari Gray from about 3 yards out and forces him into making a difficult decision. But even so, again, third goal is baffling for me. Baffling. We speak about Seamus Coleman not having enough snideness and not, being this captain that comes out in the media and tries to rally cry and tell us all how the players need to do better than this, that and the other, but then on the pitch doesn't show it. And consequently, ironically, 5 minutes earlier, Seamus got a stamp down the leg from Christian Benteke, I think it was, and instead of getting up and getting in the referee's face and saying, go and have a look at that, we all know, and the players know this, by the way, I won't stand for anything else, the players know that VAR can be manipulated. All this VAR is a tool that is there to be manipulated. The amount of people I see saying, why isn't VAR looking at that? Why isn't VAR looking at that? It's simple. If the players don't crowd the referee and force him to make that contact with whoever's doing VAR, they won't look at it. They won't, unless you play for a certain team, a certain 6 teams. If you play for any other team and you get up and just walk away from the decision, VAR won't have a look at it. You've got to get in the referee's face. You've got to make him make a decision. You've got to almost demand that those situations are checked. Seamus Coleman got up yesterday after being blatantly stamped on. By the way, Wilfred Zaha should have been sent off as well for raising his arm. Again, I think Delph just got up and walked away instead of getting in the referee's face. Other players, other way round, and Zaha gets a fist in the face. He's up and he's demanding a decision, and Fabian Delph sees red, no doubt about it. Christian Benteke should have been sent off yesterday. I don't care what anybody says. It's as clear as day. It's a red card. It's a stamp. It's a red card as clear as day. He's high-footed. It mightn't be malicious, but it's a bad challenge. Seamus Coleman rolls around for a bit and then gets up and almost lifts his arm to the referee as if to say, oh no, it's all right, don't worry about it. It was I'll get on with it. And then runs over to take the throw in. Obviously, the referee in that situation is going to go, well, that's one less controversial decision I've got to make, so just move on, play on. And VAR go, well, that's one less thing we've got to look at and one less situation, we're in the spotlight for, so, play on. I just don't get it. I almost think, and I said it yesterday, and I love Seamus as much as the next person, but I almost think that if the referee had got the red card out then, Seamus would have gone over and put it back in his pocket and said, don't send him off, it's alright. Why isn't he in the referee's face there? Why isn't he saying that, he's just stood all over me there, here's the mark, it's a red card, end the story. And yes, it wasn't his fault that he wasn't. I'm not blaming Seamus Coleman for the fact that he wasn't sent off, but if we can see it as fans, surely the players understand that these referees are fucking awful. They're the worst on the planet. The worst referees on the planet. And VAR can be manipulated. And every other team in the league does it. So why don't we do it? Anyway, as I said, Seamus, a couple of minutes later, tries to take a quick free kick. Well, effectively what he tries to do is volley the ball at the Crystal Palace player who's standing in front of the ball. He misses the player from about 3 yards away. It falls to Conor Gallagher, or I think it falls to Andre Gomez. He's messing about with it. Conor Gallagher picks it up and curls it into the top corner, and it's game over, 3-1. And yeah, as I said, I just don't think Seamus was very good yesterday. Yes, he's being hung out to dry by the club, and that isn't his fault. But I just think, again, defensively, he wasn't very good. So he's getting a 2.5. Fabian Delph is getting a 3. Obviously, Rafa Benitez, well, we all thought Rafa Benitez adopted for a 3 in midfield. What it actually was Delph and Decore in midfield and Andre Gomez playing in a number 10 for some reason. I don't know why, because he's not a number 10, but there you go. He didn't really do anything, Fabian Delph, did he? I don't think he was playing in his best position. He lost the ball a couple of times. He won it a couple of times. But overall, considering how bad we were overall in the midfield, he didn't do anything. He didn't affect the game. He wasn't good defensive cover. He didn't do anything going forward. So he's getting a 3. Abdoulaye Doucouré is getting a 4. One of his poorest games in an Everton shirt for a while, Abdoulaye Doucouré. But again, I don't think that's particularly down to him. I think that's down to the manager and the fact that the manager is played him wildly out of position. If you're going to play with a number 10, then surely Abdoulaye Doucouré is that number 10 because he offers much more of an attacking threat than Andre Gomez or Fabian Delph does, even given Andre Gomez's cameo against Arsenal. But he wasn't. Doucouré was almost playing in this sort of don't go beyond Andre Gomez's run, stay behind them, sweep up, and it was just a really frustrating performance by Abdoulaye Doucouré. He couldn't really get on the ball, he couldn't really dictate the game. We all know when Abdoulaye Doucouré can dictate a game, Everton are generally much, much better. But he couldn't do that yesterday because he wasn't being allowed to because of the shape and the tactics. So he's getting a 4. Andre Gomez is getting a 3.5. He gets the half point for that shot he had from the Ben Godfrey cross, which was well hit and a decent save. But other than that, he spent the majority of the game standing around in that sort of number 10 position, not really doing anything. Again, I don't particularly blame him. I think positional wise, it was completely the wrong position. Rafa Benitez should have had a 3 straight in midfield, not a 2 and then a 1 in front of. And again, tactically, they're the type of decisions I look at and think, you just aren't good enough to manage this football club and these players at the moment. And yes, I know there's bigger issues and it's not just Benitez. I get all of that, but Rafa Benitez at the moment isn't helping himself whatsoever. So yeah, Gomez is getting a 3.5. Andros Townsend's getting a 3. Another game of football that Andros Townsend has had no effect on whatsoever. I like Andros Townsend. I think his attitude is good. I think his work rate is good. I think his determination is good. I think he had a really good start to the season, but ultimately he hasn't really done anything for 3-4 weeks now, and he's still consistently in that starting 11 week in, week out with almost no sort of, almost no look and thought of actually he's not really playing that well, maybe we'll take him out and put Anthony Gordon in or something. It's almost a guarantee that he's in there, and no Everton player should be guaranteed a place in the starting 11, especially at the moment considering how bad we're playing, but it almost seems Andros Townsend is, and I don't really know why. Didn't have an effect yesterday on the game, obviously. Didn't really create anything. Again, won a couple of challenges and made a couple of decent passes, but that's not enough. Damari Gray is getting a 4, trying to make things happen for Everton. The tactic yesterday simply was, when you get the ball, hit it up to Damari Gray, cross your fingers and hope that he does something. And he couldn't do anything yesterday, and there will be games where he can't do anything because that tactic is absolutely disgraceful, and it shouldn't be all on him. He was at fault for the opening goal. There's no denying it. It's a really, really bad back pass into a really, really dangerous area. And he shouldn't have done it. I do think he was probably not helped by the fact he had the ball fired at him on the edge of the box, but there you go. And yet it wasn't his greatest of games. To be fair, attacking wise, Everton were abysmal yesterday. There was no plan, there was no structure, there was no cohesion, there was no confidence, there was no nothing. So I don't particularly blame Damari Gray, but he wasn't great, was he? So he's getting a 4. And then Richarlison, he's going to get a 4 as well. Again, played arguably his best game in an Everton shirt on Monday night against Arsenal, and you're sort of thinking, right, okay, he's played out of his arse there as a striker, scored 3 goals, marginally offside for the first 2, unlucky, to have not been given. Certainly the second one was very unlucky to have not been given, and you're sort of thinking, right, play him as a striker, he's got something to give there, certainly while Dominic Calvert-Lewin's out injured. What happens now? What happens again yesterday? Straight back out on the wing, completely isolated, no support, no nothing, unable to affect the game. He takes a knock in the first half. He is a little bit, again, I suppose, moving around a little bit gingerly for about 5 minutes. He gets back up, he carries on, and then 10 minutes into the second half, the manager takes him off and blames an injury. Nonsense for me. Absolute nonsense. Not a chance he was injured. You could tell by his reaction he wasn't injured. It was just a dreadful, dreadful substitution. A dreadful substitution by Rafa Benitez. But Richie, again, as I said, he gets a 4 because he didn't have an impact on the game. Don't particularly blame him, but I'm not going to sit here and say a 10 when he didn't have an impact. Onto the substitutes bench then. Anthony Gordon is getting a 4 as well. Come on, ran around, tried to create something. Obviously had that chance, which was a really, really good chance to level the game. Where he goes, he bursts into the box and he sort of got a decision to make. Do a shoot, do a pass it. He shoots. Unfortunately, it doesn't go in. And yeah, other than that, as I said, he was moving about, he was trying to create, you could see him trying to make things happen, you could see him trying to make these runs, trying to get in behind, but it just wasn't working. So he's getting a 4. And then Solomon Rondon, I'm going to give Solomon Rondon a 6.5, to be honest with you. Come on. Again, I don't agree with the substitution. Even given his goal, I don't agree with the substitution. I think if you're going to bring Rondon on, then why isn't Andros Townsend going off? Because he had done nothing. Again, why is it Richarlison, who's, the most likely of a player to score? Why is he the one going off? But listen, Solomon Rondon, come on. He scored the goal. Really good goal as well. Not necessarily the finish, because it was a comfortable finish, but the way he held the ball up, passed it off to the corner, and then obviously got on the rebound was a good finish. And I won't take nothing away from him. He come on, he was asked to do a job, and he done it. He scored his first Everton goal, which is good. Hopefully that gives him a little bit of confidence for coming on in the future. Hopefully it gives him a little bit of, as I said, just a little bit of confidence going forward. So there you go. And then Rafa Benitez gets a 1 for me. Listen, I'm not a massive fan of just saying sack managers and get rid and this, that and the other, but ultimately the run that Everton are on, the past 2 months of football, and some of the decisions tactically that the manager has made would suggest that his time at the football club should be up. It's not up, and it probably won't be up, but it leads me to think, how far does this have to go for Farhad Moshiri to make that decision? Where do we need to be? Relegation zone in January, February, couple of points above it in March? How long does this have to go on? Because clearly nothing is changing. We were told once we get that 1 win, we will build on that. We got that 1 win against Arsenal. We come up against a very beatable Crystal Palace team, and we lost comfortably, and we were awful. So nothing's changing, and nothing will change, in my opinion. So make the decision sooner rather than later, before it gets too late. But Farhad Moshiri won't, because I think he cares more about not being proven wrong than he actually does about where this football club is at, and that is a very, very, very dangerous position dangerous mindset for the owner of a Premier League football club who currently sits only a couple of points off the relegation zone to be in. But there you go. What can we do? Just turn up and support, I suppose. There you go then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Massive thanks for all the support on the instant match reaction. As I said, we will be back with the live game review tomorrow, so don't forget to join us for that one. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers for watching. See you after.